Hi everyone! I hope this works. My computer just did something really weird. I forgive it, however, because it is 106 degrees outside. Actually, it's probably more like 108 now, because that's what it was supposed to be by 5, and it's 5:30, and so anyone who says that Oregon has a mild climate should come here now. So I'm hydrating. You'll have to forgive me. It's so hot. Okay, let's see. What does it mean to pass? This week's topic is passing. I'm Rosie. What does it mean to pass? For me, passing has to do with strangers, not family. Passing has to do with when you walk up to someone you don't know, or they walk up to you, or they see you on the street, or whatever. They assume that you are one or the other gender. Meaning male or female. There are more than two, obviously, but meaning male or female. And so passing would be that they assume that you are your true gender. So, like, if Jack passes, the person who's seeing him assumes he's male. Not passing is when people assume that your gender corresponds to your biological sex. So that usually has to do with your presentation, how long you've been on T, how much your body is convincing people that your sex matches your actual gender. Okay, how important is passing to my partner and to me? To Jack, it's actually gone through stages. So, before he went on T, obviously he wanted to pass, but he was pre-T, and although he was in a pretty good position to go on T, and he's always been very kind of male presentation-esque, he didn't really pass. But when he went on T, at the beginning, just passing, like 5% of the time, was a really big deal, and he'd be elated about it. And when he didn't pass, it was still sort of the status quo, so it didn't bug him so much. But then he got to this point, where he was passing like 40% of the time, and he was not passing 60%, and it started getting to him. And when it was 50-50, it started getting to him even more. And like 60-40, when he was passing 60% of the time, from there, for a little while, it was like it would bum him out for a day if he didn't pass. Because he was getting used to passing, and then he'd be like, oh, it would be like a reminder or a kick in the face when he didn't, But now, and then there came a point when he was passing like 95% of the time. And so it didn't really bug him when he didn't pass anymore. It was just confusing to him. He was like, well, what in that situation made me not pass? Because, that's like really unusual. He pretty much passes 100% of the time now, actually. He went to the doctor the other day, a doctor who is very used to having trans patients, and the doctor didn't know that Jack was trans. So he passes pretty much, not pretty much, he passes 100% of the time. So it's not so much an issue to him. To me, he teases me about this, because it really bugs me when he doesn't pass. And he teases me because he says that I don't want people to think I'm a dyke, which is obviously not true, because I totally consider myself a dyke. It bugs me because, it's just like, feels like a physical blow to me. When Jack's true identity is not being recognized by the people who are, encountering him. It doesn't make me quite as angry as when his family or close acquaintances mix up pronouns or names. That makes me really angry. And I wouldn't say I get angry, but it does make me, uncomfortable when he doesn't pass in public. But that's not really an issue anymore. And honestly, for a while before I left he passed everywhere. I didn't see him not pass. Okay. For people who feel passing is important, what are some tricks to help pass before T or in the early stages? I mean, Nikki covered a lot of them. Honestly, binding is really important. Even if you have, like, small breasts, first of all, binding doesn't just bind your breasts. If you wear a full-length binder, it takes away some of the curviness of your upper body, and so people notice it less. It can be really uncomfortable, though, certainly. And, for people with small breasts or people who are already kind of like straight and boyish, there are half binders and whatever. There are other options, but binding is important. Packing, in my opinion, is also really important. It's conspicuous. It's conspicuous. If someone sees that bulge in your pants, they are not going to ma'am you. Like, that's, it's, maybe they're not, maybe they're looking at you over a counter and you won't pass. But packing is really, really important. Dress, obviously, I think you really toe the line between dyke and, guy. And Jack's always been really, really aware of that. And so he's always been like, do I look like a dyke or do I look like a guy, Concern isn't so much there anymore, but in the beginning, it is important to make that distinction. They're different. How does your partner feel when he does not pass? Already talked about that. How does passing affect your partner's identity and mine? Well, I mean, for me, I'm queer, so if Jack doesn't pass, people assume that I'm lesbian, and that's reasonable. So it doesn't really affect my identity, except that I very much, it is becoming a part of my identity, that I'm dating him, and that he's a him, and that, he's transitioning, and recognition of that transition is a big thing to me. For him, passing absolutely affects his identity. He's always, been very strongly and very comfortable in his male identity, but since he's started passing more and more, and now that he passes all the time, he has become so much more confident, so much more outgoing, so much more able to deal with everyday situations, because he doesn't fear, not being recognized as what he feels like he is. And it's really fundamental, not to one's understanding of one's own gender, but to, your ability to, really kind of come into your own as this person who you are transitioning to appear as. Obviously you are them already, but the transition is to be able to present yourself that way to the world, and so passing, obviously, is the manifestation of that. Okay. Did I have the option to elaborate? I'm at 8:40. I don't think I need to anymore. I hope that at some point we'll be able to talk about pronoun use in one's immediate friend and family circle, but I don't think that has to do with passing, because passing is about whether or not you pass as male or female, whichever direction you're transitioning, obviously. And, your family knows that you're transitioning, and they know that you're not your biological sex. They know your gender doesn't correspond to your biological sex anymore. So I think that those are definitely two different things, and I think that it would be good to talk about kind of respect issues. And of course, we talked about family earlier, but I think that pronoun use and feminine masculine name use and all of that in immediate circles is a really really important thing. So now I'm at 9:36. Look at that. So I'll sign off, and I'll see you all next week.